adequate.
Oh. Sorry, go ahead, just my bad.
No, just press here, continue. Consuming the adequate amount of water. So I don't know if you remember last year, I told you about our body needs at least 35 milliliters of water per kilo of our body weight. I don't know if you remember the slide that I showed you. Yes, good one. Water, and it can be from tea, for example. But guys, at least 35 milliliters of water per kilo of our body weight. And then you can calculate it for yourself. And if you're sleeping well, so because there are clear negative effects of deprivation sleep. So maybe you, Philippe, calculate yours?
Yeah.
2.5 liters for him.
72 kilos.
72 kilos, yes. Yeah, 2.5, it's okay, it's fine. It's easy to drink 2.5 per day. If you're sleeping well, for example, and I think the most important thing is if you're not too tired because of your work. Because sometimes you have, for example, a job that you need to use too much strength during the day, for example, construction or something like that, or your work is too much stressful.
A jiu-jitsu instructor.
A jiu-jitsu instructor, for example. Or your work is too much stressful. And of course, at the end of the day, you'll be exhausted. So it's really common when you're exhausted at the end of the day and before a training session, you have too much caffeine from coffee, from Red Bull, from tea, green tea, for example, black tea. And my suggestion is to avoid it. Because if you drink too much caffeine, you're not treating the cause, you're treating the consequence. And your tiredness is getting worse. So think about your diet, water, if you're sleeping well, if you're not too tired because of work, and try to avoid too much caffeine. So probably you don't have enough energy because of one of these points.
Awesome, good stuff, Josie. So keeping hydrated, not having too much caffeine either, right? I think it's something that I do wrong a lot of the times. I think I have a long day today, so we'll have a lot of caffeine, but probably doesn't help too much, right?
Yeah.
No coffee at all, someone is asking.
No coffee at all. You can drink, you can have coffee, but don't drink too much, for example. There isn't, for example, a specific amount of caffeine because it's too individual. For example, if I have more than my coffee is with this size of my mug, but more than 2, for example, I'm getting too anxious, and maybe at the end of the day I will stay like shaking, and probably it's no help with our problem of get tired.
Awesome.
So you have to know your body and understand how much coffee you can drink. Not coffee, but Red Bull and tea with caffeine as well.
Cool, awesome, good stuff, Josie. Now moving to the next one, I think it was Carla who asked this one. How many protein grams per day do you need to ensure that you have muscle growth?
Okay, Carla, I will answer this question more specific with numbers just because I know this question is yours. So first, when you're thinking muscle growth, you have to make sure you have a proper strength training, not only about the diet. I know Carla usually do it, but because the proper strength training generates micro traumas on our muscle fibers, and then with a proper recovery process, in taking adequate nutrients, it helps muscle growth. But specifically about protein, just explaining you, are like bricks to our body. that help us to repair and build muscles, tissues, hormones. And it's a wrong common thought that for muscle growth, you have to eat an excess of protein. It's wrong because our body has a limited capacity of absorption of protein per meal. So for example, it's not working if you have the whole amount of the protein that you need only post-workout. You have to, it's much better to eat a little amount of protein during the whole day. And then, Rodolfo, could you show us the slide, please?
Yeah, of course.
I
Have
have a slide here, guys, to show you better.
Yeah, there we go. I hope everyone
For those ones,
on the screen.
For those ones who train an intense training, the recommendation is 1.6 grams to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day. Okay? It's a general rule for those ones who train hard. But the absorption of protein per meal, it's around 0.3 grams to 0.5 grams per meal. So here, I can do it. Here for women, no, you cannot see? No, just I can see my arrow here. For a woman, who weighs 60 kilos, so 60 kilos per 2 kilos, I use the highest recommendation. It could be around 100 grams per day of protein, the nutrient protein. And the absorption per meal will be 30 grams per meal. So I just break down here for you guys to explain about a suggestion just about protein. I'm not talking here about fat and carbohydrates, okay? It's just about protein. It could be separated in meals, in 5 meals during the day. For example, breakfast, 30 grams of protein. It can find in 2 eggs plus 4 egg white.
Without the yolk, right?
Yeah, without the yolk. A snack, a morning snack with 20 grams of protein. It could be 20 grams of whey protein, vegan protein. Lunch, 30 grams of protein, around 8 grams of a steak. A pre-workout with 10 grams of protein. It could be 250 milliliters of skim milk. And post-workout, 30 grams of protein, and then it could be 100 grams of breast chicken grilled, for example. For a guy, around with 8 kilos, it could be a bit more, 160 grams per day with the absorption of 40 grams per meal. And then we increase around 5 grams to 10 grams per meal of protein. And then the amount of food will be a bit different, and then I can see on the slide. And then I will tell you soon later why I put less, I suggest less protein at pre-workout, but I'll talk to you later. And that is just a suggestion, guys, for you. I think most of you train at the end of the day for evening class. And this is just a suggestion about protein source of food source of protein.
So
Okay.
80 kilos for someone like Professor Rodolfo, right?
Like Rodolfo, for example. But I know, probably most of you, Nikki, yes. I remember I had a client a few years in Brazil, around 10 years. That guy told me, but Jose, I usually have 5 servings of breast chicken post-workout. It's around half kilo of breast chicken. And then I told him it's much better if you have 1 portion serving of this chicken for a breakfast, snack, separate different meals of your day. The absorption will be much better than only in one meal. Of course, it can vary, depends on your body fat, your muscle mass, your gender, but it's a general view about that.
Awesome. Now I understand why Professor Filippi has so many eggs for breakfast. That's impressive, man. It's like 7, 8 eggs for breakfast, huh?
Yeah. Our breakfast around 5, 6 eggs here. In general.
That's awesome. Look, I think this question leads perfectly into the next one, right? Which is how much should I eat or drink right after the training session? Yeah, that's something that I do wrong all the time, I think, because I finish a training session, then I clean the whole gym for an hour or so, and then by the time I go home to eat, it's pretty much too late. But yeah, that's the question for you, Josie.
Yeah.
How much should we eat or drink after the training session?
Yes. After training, our main goal is muscle recovery and energy replacement. So, okay, you can have this meal maybe around 1 hour after a training session, for example. But sooner you can have this meal, it's better for your recovery process. And then, sometimes when you train really hard, this recovery process can take up 48 hours. Então, if you can optimize it, this recovery process, we can get ready for the next training session. When you can train on the mat, you usually train every day, for example, or sometimes you guys that train and run class, maybe more training sessions per day. So for a training session, you have to worry about carbohydrates and protein. Protein, I told you before this question, but it could be a big meal or a small meal. Depends if you have, for example, breakfast, if you train only in the morning, or if you have dinner, for example, before your training session. It's really individual. It's not right or wrong for this question, for example. You have to train it and test it, which one works better for you. But when we talk about after training session, it depends on your goal, for example. If you are think about reducing your body fat, for example, in general, I reduce the amount of carbohydrate. So for example, it could be a meal with 0.3 grams to 0.35 grams per kilo of our body weight on this meal of post-workout. It could be around one banana or 100 grams of rice, white rice, for example. Or if your main goal is muscle growth or improve your performance, it will be increased for around 0.5 grams to 1 gram of carbohydrate per kilo of body weight per meal, around 2 bananas or 200 grams of white rice, for example. So few options that you can have after your training session. For example, if you train early in the morning, your breakfast is your post-workout, maybe you can have bread or corn cracker. It's a good source of carbohydrates. With eggs, for example, good source of protein. Maybe for lunch or for dinner, pasta or rice, potato, good sources of carbohydrates and protein. Tuna, chicken, meat for vegetarians or vegans, tempeh, tofu, for example, or sometimes just a fruit smoothie or a protein shake, for example, with any fruit juice with protein powder or just coconut water with protein powder, for example. It's an option, for example, if you train and you have to do anything else after that. For example, I stayed for too long at the gym, clean the gym, and then maybe you can have like this protein shake, and then you have your protein shake, and then you can go for your dinner, a small dinner after that. Not too much dinner because you had a post-workout before that. And then you can have more time for your post-workout meal.
Awesome, good stuff, Josie. Now, So it's an interesting one as well. I think it matches a little bit to what we were talking about. So
Yeah.
is it better for you to have dinner before or after training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and why?
Okay, it's up to you guys. Up to you, because as I told you before, there is not better than or worse in this scenario. You have to know how your body works and which one works better for you. How you feel like having dinner after a training session or before training session, or maybe when you feel with more energy, because a pre-workout planned can prevent weakness, nausea, or feeling heavy. And then this symptom is not really good to feel when you roll with someone on the mat. But I have few options for you. Depends on the time. If you have your pre-workout meal before dinner, before your training session. For example, if you have time and then you have for 3 to 2 hours before your training session, it could be a big meal, for example, especially if solid food. For example, if you train around 7:30, it could be at 7:30, for example. If it's okay for you have dinner this time, it's fine. So this meal should be high in carbohydrate, moderated in protein, fat, and fiber. So think, for example, on your plate. So around 60 to 70% of this plate full of carbohydrate, and 30% to 40% with protein, fat, and fiber. But if you don't have enough time, and then you have a meal around 1 hour, 45 minutes before your training session, it should be a small meal, maybe a liquid meal or solid meal, if you feel better, but high in carbohydrate and low in protein, fiber, and fat, because you don't have enough time to digest it, all of these nutrients. So same plate, but now with around 80% to 90% full of carbohydrate, and 20% and 10% with fat, protein, and fiber. And then it's really individual. For example, for me, I know my body, and I cannot eat anything before 1 hour before training session, and drink anything. I think there is only an exception, because when I rolled with Storm at a workshop, after I had a hot dog and half liter of coconut water. And then Storm coming in, hey, let's roll. And, oh my God, I just had a hot dog and coconut water. But it's okay, it works. But for example, I cannot do it in a real situation. But for example, Professor Philippe can have a big smoothie or maybe a plate of pasta 15 minutes before a training session. And then, guys, you know him, and you've probably watched him rolling. He can do it. And so it's up to you. You have to train it. But it's important, keep in mind, if you have dinner before your training session, make sure you have around 2 hours before your training session with carbohydrate, moderated protein, and fiber and fat. Or if it's not work, you can have after your training session, but make sure you don't have a big meal, because it can cause interference on your sleeping time.
Good stuff. Yeah. So I had this experience quite a few times in the past, but I learned that I can't eat too much before training. Otherwise, it's the worst sensation ever.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's better have a dinner before, for example, or like a small snack before training and dinner before. After the training session.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff, Josie. Now, moving on to the next question. We have a bunch of them to go through here. I think we have like 12 questions or so. Question number 5. What meals do you recommend for keeping weight down, but still keep a good energy level?
Okay. The whole meals that you usually do it, but in a different way. You eat less. But basically, for weight loss, you have to eat less than you burn, or you eat less than you have been eating. But if you want, guys, keep your energy and keep your performance, and then I think it's the main goal of all of us here. Never do it straight away. Sorry. Change your eating habits slowly, otherwise your performance can decrease. I don't recommend, for example, changing the strategy like fasting or keto diet, for example, for those ones who never tried it. And then, of course, if you want to keep your performance and your energy levels.
For the comp.
For the comp or for training sessions, for example, especially for competition. Plan it few weeks before a competition, please.
Don't try anything new before the comp.
Yes. Don't try anything new at the week of the competition. You have negative results when you want to change category and you have to lose weight at the week of the competition. So plan it before the competition. And I never cut carbohydrates off. I know it's when someone think about weight down, weight loss, low carb. No, with athletes or sportsmen, I never do it. Of course, only with those ones who usually have another strategy of diet. I usually make this strategy with my clients. I reduce the whole amount of food the whole day of the day, especially carbohydrates and fat, but never reduce from pre-workout and post-workout. And then, for example, if you train at night, evening class, maybe you can reduce from breakfast, lunch, or your morning snack, but never pre-workout and post-workout. Sometimes post-workout it's fine, but never pre-workout. Making sure you train with a good performance. And make sure you have meals during the day. How can I say when you eat something between meals, like in Portuguese they call beliscar? Nibble.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
When you eat, for example, you're cooking and then you eat a cheese, and then 15 minutes after that you eat nuts, for example, like not a proper meal. Nibbling. Okay, it's this word, guys. And then make sure you don't do it. Don't do that, because when you do that, you don't remember what you have eaten, and then probably you eat more than you need. So get your plate, sit down, have your meals with plenty attention to your meals.
Carla said the word grazing.
Grazing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I know some people around this household here who loves that as well. But yeah,
Grazing around.
and I really hope so.
Very hard during lockdown.
Yeah.
I really hope our students. I hope the students also heard the part that Josie said about losing a lot of weight just before the competition. I really hope they listen to Josie, because most of the time they don't listen to me. So yeah, I hope now I have someone helping me out with that.
Don't do it, guys.
Good stuff.
Sorry, just it's better you do it few weeks ago competition and then do it slowly. Otherwise, your performance will not be the same.
Awesome, good stuff. Now the next one, that's a very lockdown one, right? And I'll actually tie it up with a question that Barry also made here, but is how to control the anxiety and overconsumption of food during the lockdown. And then Barry also asked here on the chat that he feels like eating a lot of sugar during this time too. So if you could go through both answers, would be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. In the beginning of lockdown, most part of people thought lockdown is like holidays. Yeah, like holidays from training, but it's taking too long, guys. And then you got anxious, and then it's very common eat more than you need, especially food. Not only overconsumption, but different kind of food like sugar, alcohol, caffeine, fast food, because it makes us happier. And then, so guys, try, as I told you before, try to avoid excessive consumption of caffeine. It's because caffeine can increase our stage of
Anxiety.
Anxiety, sorry. And then try to avoid it. So as I told you before in the beginning, caffeine from coffee, tea, and Red Bull, for example, this kind of. Philippe is showing me a few questions.
No, he wants to know how can he stop wanting to eat more sugar.
I will talk it. And then about sugar, guys. People are talking, asking me about sugar.
Very was asking.
Yes. Because sugar and alcohol. I told you about all of these things. Sugar, alcohol, fat. It's really common you eat more because it makes us happier. But guys, make us happier for a short time. Well, when you eat too much sugar, you feel really happy. But then when this happiness ends, you don't feel too happy. And then you need to eat more to feel make you happy again. So you have to try to not eat too much sugar, but you can try to eat more sweet food during the day. For example, not straight ahead sugar, chocolate or candies or sweets. For example, more fruits because there is a natural sugar, or for example, yogurt, or sometimes whey protein, vegan protein, because it's sweet. And then it helps us with this flavor on our mouth.
We eat mandarins a lot, right?
Mandarins, yeah.
That's the strategy we use here.
Especially fruit at the season, it's really sweet. And then it helps us a lot. It's not only things that nutritionists usually say to you, but it helps us a lot. Fruit help us a lot. But of course, fruit, there is carbohydrate. So you have not to eat too much fruit as well. But another thing that it's really common to happen during lockdown is about when you're working from home. I'm working from home for many years, and then I understand it. Sometimes it's really bored to stay there in front of computer the whole day, and then you have a break. When you have a break, where you go when you have a break? Go into the kitchen, open the fridge. It's our break nowadays. And then change this habit. When you have a break for your work, go to your balcony. If you have a garden, go to the garden and then take a fresh air, but stop going to the kitchen. And then because now when you work from home, it's okay, let's have a break. What do you eat now? And then you're not hungry. You're not hungry. You just want to eat it because work from home sometimes is boring. And then you want something to make you feeling better. And then change the direction. You go to your balcony, go to the garden, do another thing. Change the activity.
I have a solution. Guys, whenever you feel like eating something sweet, do 50 push-ups. And then you're going to start thinking about that, right? Every time you think about that, 50 push-ups. Then you're gonna disconnect that thought from your brain.
And that's how you got his arms, huh? That's the secret. I
Yeah,
see.
no. And another thing, only nowadays, only supermarkets are open. So stop going going to supermarket for fun. And then, especially when you're hungry and really anxious, because you go to the supermarket with a shopping list on your hand. Otherwise, you buy more chocolate and something like that, and don't have it there. Don't have it at home, so don't buy it. If you don't have it at home, you won't go outside to buy. I think so. I hope so, but you won't do it. So don't have it at home.
Awesome. Good stuff, Josie. I like the next one is something that I do in the mornings. I want to know if it's right or wrong, or if it's actually helping me at all. But is the following: how can I boost my immune system? Should I drink a immunity booster shot first thing in the morning? Does that help? Does that not help? Tell us.
Yeah, I know it nowadays. This kind of shot is really famous, especially when we talk about immune system, coronavirus, and something like that. It helps, but because it's concentrated in many nutrients that help us to boost our immune system, but it's just an option. So doesn't matter if you are taking this shot early in the morning if you don't pay attention the all meals during the day. So not as I usually say, guys, not a single supplement or shot or food can perform a miracle. It's the result of the whole things that you usually do during the day, not one thing.
One day.
In one day, you have to do every day and during the whole day. Like when you want to learn jiu-jitsu, for example, not in one training, you have to practice more and train more. So it helps, but it's not a miracle. Okay, so keep in mind you have to maintain a health diet. It's the key to boost our immune system. So especially in few nutrients like omega-3. So you can find omega-3 in salmon, olive oil, or selenium in nuts, for example, vitamin C, A, E, fruits and vegetables, zinc in animal products like meat, for example, and probiotics like yogurt, kefir, and kombucha is really good for our gut health. It helps us to boost our immune system. And of course, exercise, hydration, plenty of sleep, and minimize your stressful. And guys, to boost our immune system and everything that you want to boost in our body, do the basic first. And then if everything is okay and you feel you still need something else, and then you can take these supplements or something like that.
Basics first, guys.
Yeah, like in jiu-jitsu, guys, like in jiu-jitsu. For example, beginner who does want to learn how to do berimbolo, but doesn't know how to do guard retention, for example. Learn how to do basic first, and then the advanced step after that.
Good stuff. Awesome. I think that the next one is kind of similar to what you were discussing, but if there's anything that you think can be added here. So it's the following. I've been feeling quite weak and tired during the lockdown. What to do and what to eat to come back to the match with a good performance.
So, yeah, I think the most important thing is, guys, do you remember your routine before lockdown? So keep the same routine. You have just to adapt it to stay home. But keep your good eating habits. Avoid too much sugar, alcohol, and caffeine. Keep your sleep pattern. So go to bed at the same time, get off bed at the same time. I know it's nowadays, maybe you're training not with the same intensity, but so maybe you can reduce the amount of, not increase, that is really common in lockdown, maybe, but reduce it. And hydration, of course, and stay active. So GB Bondi, GB Carlton has a good schedule with online class that help you improve your jiu-jitsu as well during this hard time, with drills class, yoga, mobility, and bar fit performance. So maybe it's time to, or you can learn something different, for example. We are enjoying this moment to learn and practice more surfing, for example. After almost 3 years living in Australia, we are learning. Philip more than me, but it's really hard. I don't know if the hardest one, jiu-jitsu or surfing, but maybe it's time to learn something new, or maybe try new recipes. Good recipes. If you want healthy recipes, go to my Instagram and then check my recipes. And then maybe you can try it. So maybe it's time to learn something different, not think, oh, maybe it's a hard time, and then think only when you go out of this time. I think it's my thought. When you stay locked down again, no, I go out this lockdown better than I entered. And then, because it's very easy to get lazy during these times and stay dismotivated, but you've been through this before, and you know you can do it, guys.
That's it. Let's do it again. That's it. Trying to come back a better version.
Better, yeah.
That's the key. Amazing. Good stuff. Now, question. Next one. So it's about dairy. Is milk or oat milk better for you?
Now, both are good option for our diet, but it depends on your choice. Depends on if you have your goal, because the composition is different. Any plant-based milk, like not only oat milk, but almond milk, coconut milk, or rice milk, for example, there is a different composition. So, for example, oat milk, more carbohydrates, coconut milk, more fat. For example, almond milk, more fat and low in carbohydrate and protein. Dairy milk is, for example, more in protein. So depends on your goal, your preference, and especially if you have any allergy, intolerance, or sensitivity of any about lactose or cow milk protein allergy, for example. So depends all of that, but both are good option for our diet. I know nowadays there is like a terrorism about milk. It's inflammatory, but it's not real.
Awesome. Good stuff, Josie. Yeah. Now, we're coming back to sugar. I probably should have asked you that before, but it's a question about sugar substitutes. If they are good for you, if they are better than real sugar. So should people seek sugar substitutes, or should they instead just have the normal sugar?
Yes. Always my first tip is you have to train your palate to need less sugar. So because sugar is sugar, okay? I know you have sugar and sweeteners, but for sugar, raw sugar, brown sugar, or white sugar, there's the same calories, but only raw sugar and brown sugar are more nutritious. There's more nutrients in comparative to white sugar. But we don't have to consume sugar with the goal to get more nutrients. If you want more nutrients, you eat fruits, vegetables, different kind of food. On the other hand, there are sweeteners, artificial and natural sweeteners. I don't recommend at all artificial sweeteners like sucralose, acesulfame, and saccharin. So you have to check. It's better to check in your supplements or processed food, there is this kind of artificial sweetener, so I don't recommend that. For natural ones, what's happened, like stevia, xylitol, sorbitol, mannitol, and nowadays monkey fruit, they are too recent to know how it works on our body in the future. So stevia, it's fine, but we know nowadays xylitol, sorbitol, and mannitol, and few people can have few gut discomforts, when consuming this kind of sweeteners. And monkey fruit is really new, so for a while it's okay, but in the future we don't know. So I think the best is increase your palate, and then you reduce the needs of eat sugar,
Honey.
step by step.
Honey.
And honey is the same. Honey is a really nutritious food, but sugar as well. So you don't have to eat too much. Otherwise, you take too much carbohydrate as well and sugar, and more nutritious.
But it's
So-
better than
More nutritious, yeah, more nutritious, like raw sugar and brown sugar.
So I shouldn't feel too guilty if I put some honey in my yogurt in the morning. Better to put the honey or put some sugar? Honey.
In this case, honey, because it's more nutritious, but better, for example, it's a strategy, guys, to reduce sugar. For example, I took 1 year to drink coffee without any sugar. It's a step by step. I started, for example, 1 spoon of sugar, and then after 3 weeks I changed it to almost 1 spoon of sugar. I reduced, and then half spoon of sugar, more 3 weeks, and then my body will learn how to live without sugar in my coffee. So if you put too much sugar, you teaching your body to eat sugar. If you reduce, it's the same. It's the same happen to increase the consumption of water or reduce the consumption of alcohol, for everything.
Great, step by step, right? That's it. Josie, the next one is the following. It's an interesting one. What kind of food usually makes people feel bloated? That full bloated sensation?
It's really individual as well. So the most common food is legumes, like beans, chickpeas, lentils. And then a tip that I usually do for my clients is soaking and change the soaking water several times before you cooking. It helps us to reduce the substance that make us feel bloated before you cook it for around 12 hours. So keep it there, your beans soaking, and then changing this water, and then you feel there is you form a foam on top, like these beans. Few veggies, you can call them like cruciferous. It's a hard word. Cruciferous, I think it's fine. Broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, for example, sprouts, and onion and garlic for some people, especially when there is onion garlic in tomato sauce, for example. And then sometimes you don't know about that. For more sensitive people, gluten and dairy products. Carbonated drinks, so soda, kombucha sometimes, apart from kombucha is really good for our gut, but carbonated drinks. As I told you before, xylitol, sorbitol, and mannitol, and then sometimes the sweeteners or if you processed food. And sometimes egg as well for few people, and beer, but beer I don't usually recommend.
Good stuff. Well, now the next one is, I think, is one of the last questions actually. So if anyone have any urgent questions apart from Anthony's one that I can see there, you can feel free to throw it in. You probably have the time to answer another 2 or so. Just throw in the chat and then I'll ask Josie, okay? But now the last one that I have here on the screen, Josie, what are some example of foods that we think they are healthy, but they're actually not that great for you?
Yes, it's interesting because the terrorism and myth about real food is changing from time to time. So I remember when I was young, around 15 years old, 16, I love egg. I love egg. But when I was 15, 16, okay, you cannot eat more than one egg per day. You die if you eat more eggs. And then egg is really healthy. And then for example, now milk is not good for our health, but in the past, milk it's really fine. It's okay. So guys, if you don't have any intolerance or sensitivity or allergy, for me, all food apart from processed food, ultra processed food, packaged food, it's fine for our health because it's changed from time to time. Maybe 5 years ago, maybe 5 years later, we can have another miracle, another kind of food that will be the best food for our health, like chia, superfoods, for example. So think about to have a balanced diet during the day. So as I told you before, not a single food, not a single supplement, because it changes. And then I remember around 20 years ago, I avoid to eat egg because I couldn't eat more than one egg per day. And I'm here now eating more, 3 or sometimes 4 eggs per day.
7.
So, no, 7 no. But it's fine. So for real food, fresh food, we can eat all of them if you don't have any intolerance, sensitive allergy.
Awesome. Yeah, it's something that I noticed the time that we spent, me, you, Jess, Professor Felipe, living in the same house, that I thought both of you be super radical about, oh, that you can eat, that you can't eat. But the reality is like you're very healthy the way you are. And I think one of the main things that you do, you just keep a healthy, balanced diet, right?
Yeah.
You're not too radical in the terms of, oh, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat that other thing. No, you have a nice and balanced diet that allows you to do that on the long term, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because have a different a variety of food and culture as well. So there is not one diet is the best of. If you have only one diet, you have to eat everybody eat all this diet and everybody will be healthy. So it's different nowadays. No, you don't need it. You what matter is how much food, when you eat, depends on your goal, and enjoy it with no radicalism, no terrorism.
Good stuff. Now Anthony has a comment here. He's more bragging about his healthy eating habits, I think, but he's talking about how he's been loading his daily protein shakes with chia seeds, linseed, and goji berries.
It's
And he
nice.
wants to know if that's good, if there's notable health benefits from these ingredients or not.
Yes. There are a lot of good nutrients from these seeds, for example. These shakes are really good. It's like it's easy to digest, and then you can mix with different kind of food. So, for example, you can have a more nutritious meal with this example. Put more seeds, more protein and fruits, coconut water, or plant-based milk. But you have to make sure what you're putting inside of your blender, because sometimes this kind of meal, there are more calories that a plate, for example, with beans, pasta, and meat. And then it's not about only nutrition, it's more like you eating more that you need. So because I think I told you about that because it's really common. People ask me about these smoothies and vitamins. Vitamins, we call vitamins in Brazil, but with peanut butter, milk, oat, what else? Protein powder, and then when you see there's around.
It's a bomb.
It's not a bomb. It's more for like 500 calories, like a lunch, like a dinner. So make sure you are eating it having it in a appropriate time. But it's really good, really nutritious.
Good on you, Anthony. Good stuff, man. You see? She's
Yeah, and I
really good
definitely
job.
heed that warning about the calories in those smoothies. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've learned the hard way.
I think it's a liquid meal. When
It
you
is.
have a liquid meal, you digest it more, and then you can drink more. So think about the calories as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good stuff. Now, this is going to be the last question because we're just running out of time, but it's a great one. So Liam and Storm, and I think myself as well, now I want to ask about that too. So açaí is a big part of the Brazilian culture, the jiu-jitsu culture as well, right? We've been eating the stuff the whole life, and it was funny because there was a competition that I fought here in Australia, and then after fighting the comp, I asked Jess, really just buy me an açaí because I'm starving, right? I probably had to cut some weight as well, and then she comes with the açaí for me. But then the açaí is covered with condensed milk. And I said, come on, I wanted my açaí. And I covered that with condensed milk, right? And I think, so the question is like, açaí is good for you. Of course, there are different ways of preparing açaí. For example, when I make it at home, I put honey and I try not to put too much, but I know that sometimes you buy the processed one already that has a lot of sugar included. Yeah. Just a little bit about the benefits of açaí, Josie, and it's good, it's not good for you.
Açaí is really good, full of antioxidants. So really good with nutrients. So guys, not açaí, I think most of them think that açaí fruit, not when you added something on top with toppings. And then açaí fruit has too much fat, not carbohydrate. It's really rich in fat. So it's not kind of avocado, but it's really rich in fat. But açaí, there is a different flavor, like more. Felipe tried açaí fruit is really amargo, bitter, and then to make it sweeter, they added guarana. You call it guarana. It's a syrup, and then this processed açaí with sugar, this syrup. And then sometimes people usually add condensed milk or granola or banana and strawberry. The original açaí in Brazil is more like granola, banana, açaí, and this syrup. So it's fine. When you can do it at home, because there is a few açaí without syrup. And then you can do it at home, the pure açaí. The pulp, yeah. And then you can do it at home. You can choose what you put inside. Maybe you can instant syrup, you can put honey, for example, or blend it with banana. A really ripe banana, it's sweet. And then you can blend it with banana. Maybe sometimes it's better put a bit of protein powder and then increase the amount of protein of this meal. And then if you use, for example, a vanilla flavor protein, it's sweet. And then you don't need to add honey or syrup or something like that. And then increase the amount of protein for this meal because the original açaí, there's only fat, carbohydrate, and okay, of course, antioxidants, vitamins as well. And think about the toppings. There is a really nice açaí around here, Bondi, that we love it, called oakberry. but you can choose the toppings. And then when I go there, I usually go there, and then I saw people putting condensed milk, peanut butter, and then paçoquinha is paçoquinha. Have you tried açaí with paçoquinha, Rodolfo? It's a peanut candy.
Of course he did. Look at
Yeah, I shouldn't have, but I tried before, yeah.
Professor Rodolfo loves it.
Josie.
Huh?
You can say that here, Josie.
That's okay. It's from peanuts, okay. And then added too much stuff, toppings on this açaí. It's not more açaí. It's like a different kind of dish. It's not more açaí. So açaí is really good, but depends on about your toppings. And it's better when you do it at home. But guys, remember, there's too much calories at açaí.
Hypercaloric.
It's hypercaloric, yes. And then, so don't add too much toppings. When I put some açaí in diets, I usually suggest, of course, depends on a lot of things, but from 200 grams to around 400 grams of açaí, and a bit of banana or fruit, and with sometimes protein powder or hemp protein or some protein powder, vegan protein.
So let me ask you one question, because I see many people eating açaí after training, right? So after training or before training?
Depends on the composition of açaí. As I told you, açaí is rich in fat. So if you eat before your training, make sure you have enough time to digest it. And granola, for example, is full of fiber. So if you don't have enough time to digest it, I don't recommend it before training session or competition. After, it's fine. And I know why most part of people likes it, because when you train a lot or you stay too excited for a competition, sometimes you cannot eat too warm food or hot food or solid food. So it's easier to eat more cold food or liquid. And then people love açaí for this reason as well. And then, of course, boost our energy.
Look, I'm glad that you didn't tell me that I can't eat açaí anymore. So that's amazing. That's a great outcome for me. Josie, look, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a little workshop on nutrition. It's great to to have. I think during this time that's very challenging for people. There are good things about it as well, and one of them is that we have the time to sit and have a 1 hour discussion about such a important topic for everyone. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Professor Felipe, for the help and for the questions as well. Thank you, students from GB Carleton, GB Bondi. I saw there are some people from GB Orange as well. So thank you everyone for joining. It's lovely to see you all asking a bunch of questions here. Good stuff.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Professor Rodolfo. Thank you, guys. Hopefully next time you can do it on the mats as well next time. But guys, if you have more questions, just text me, send me a message. No worry about that. Don't wait for the next workshop. You can text me, and then if you have a few questions or know more about nutrition, few tips, I'm here for you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Josie.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Josie. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Well done, Josie. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you, Lion.
See you, guys.
Well, good night,
Now
everyone.
read
Thank
next
you.
chat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
See you. Bye.
Cheers, Lion.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Storm.
Bye. I was gonna say, can I book? I want a private.
Oh, okay, text me.
Ooh, I know, I did, but I don't think you saw.
I will.
Can I just say quickly? My breakfast, Professor, what did I say my breakfast is now because of Josie?
12 eggs, I think. Was it?
No, I have five to 6.
12 eggs is impossible. I think.
But 4 with egg white and 2 with the full thing, with the yolk.
just as she said.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Depends on the whole meal as well. And your goal, and I know your goal, but depends on your goal and the whole meal. But it's fine. But depends on. We talk later about that.
Okay. Oh, I'm so
Oh, Pedrão, ali, ó. Didn't see you, Professor Pedro. There in the background, huh?
Pedro's hidden.
He's hidden.
You were talking about nibbles, and I was in the back kitchen cooking food and nibbling.
Nibbles or grazing?
Either.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
does it all the time. Yeah.
Nibble. Yeah. It's hard. Today I didn't because I was too anxious. But now it's hard because I hear working here, it's so boring, and then okay,
Yeah.
let's do that. But yeah,